Our Parsha feels like you're riding on a roller coaster. Right? The Parsha begins on the surface for no reason, telling us again about the deaths of Nadav and Abihu, the sons of Aaron HaKohen, the tragic deaths. The Torah then shifts gears to the lofty avodah of Yom Kippurim, the holiest person in the holiest place on the holiest day of the entire year. And by the end of the Parsha, we've switched another 180 degrees, and the Torah tells us in no uncertain terms the details of the arayos, of the averos of immorality through improper sexual activity. And the Torah introduces those that you shouldn't be like in Egypt. Why Egypt? Because that was the worst of all the countries when it came to morality. These are averos chamuros, terrible, terrible things. A person is obligated to give his or her life to not transgress them. Averos that the Torah tells us the land will spit us out if we violate them. And quickly the serenity, the utopia of a world of Kedusha has come crashing down. It's no longer about the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, but we've gone from the highest spiritual peak to the deepest abyss. Couldn't the Torah have cut the Parsha short, give us an opportunity to enjoy, bask in the glory and the Kedusha of Yom Kippurim, just for a little bit, and tuck away those prohibitions somewhere else? Why does the Torah send us on this roller coaster ride up and down? And I think that maybe the depth of what the Torah is telling us is a much deeper idea and is a very important one. What greater high can there be than what we achieve on Yom Kippur? As Allah prescribes, we separate ourselves from the physical world and we engage in spirituality. Like the Malachim, we connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We do tshuva, we improve ourselves, we look for kabbalos, things that we can accept upon ourselves to bring us closer to Hashem. But as we know, life does not always proceed as we plan. And the picture that we might have in our minds in the Eilah and Yom Kippur, after we've really done tshuva, we've really regretted, we've really changed, is not necessarily where we find ourselves months later. Because life is a roller coaster. Our Parsha is a microcosm of our lives. We can soar to the spiritual heights of Yom Kippur, and yet we can fall. The Torah, when speaking of Yom Kippurim, sensitive to the beautiful imagery that enters our minds, to the serene sense of life that it provides, purposely juxtaposes the discussion of the arayos, of the terrible sins that can lead us to out of the land of Israel into Galus. Because it's a dose of reality. No matter how high you have climbed, no matter how high we have climbed, there are no guarantees in life. If you think about it, even on Yom Kippur itself, we find this very same framework. What do we learn from the Torah as we're getting towards Ne'ilah at Mincha and Yom Kippurim? The very same perek of Parshas Acharei. Haven't you wondered why? Of all the Parshios, why was that chosen as the Kriyas HaTorah Yom Kippurim? It's for the very same reason. The same reason that Parshas Acharei has this internal structure is the reason that we lean it on Yom Kippurim. We need to remember that we are human. We need to remember that as high as we may soar, we may and we will fall, we will falter, and we can get back up. Do we give up? Absolutely not. Rav Kook writes in a letter that we read the Parsha of Arayos and Yom Kippurim to remind us of the potential for bad, so we don't forget the powers of the Yetzer Hara. It's written to help us maintain our Kedusha and our achievements, not chas v'shalom to have us give up, but to realize that we have to work harder to maintain that which we have, because we don't want it to slip away. The key to success, as Rav Kook, is the constant realization that a yerida, that a fall is possible. So don't be too overconfident. Yetzer Hara is a unique enemy and doesn't give up, and we need to be on the lookout. And that's what the Torah's lesson is. The microcosm of life is this roller coaster. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help us that as we're riding, and there will be some falls along the way, if we prepare ourselves, if we constantly get up and try to put in place guards in order to get to hold on to that which we have achieved, then hopefully that ride will continue to soar. And as we falter, we will use those Yeridos L'Tzorech Aliyah to rise to ever greater heights.